All right, so across the country, there have been so many conversations about these AP African American Studies curriculum in high schools, and as you saw here, Baton Rouge High does have the class available for students. Here with me now is the instructor, and I want to get everybody's name right. Emmitt Glynn III.
That's correct.
Zoe Clark, and here we go. Kahlila Bendete.
Absolutely.
We got that right. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, you're aware of all this controversy in Florida. I'm not going to pull you guys into the politics, but there's been a lot of politics and criticism about what this class is. So I'll ask a really simple question. What are you teaching in the class?
So in AP African American Studies, we're teaching everything from the African diaspora all the way through enslavement and resistance to the practice of freedom after the Civil War and into the movements and debates of the present day of American history.
Are there any aspects of this class that are not germane to African American history, specific to what you just outlined?
No. So really the way we look at it, or the way I look at it as a historian, so if we were building a house, we'd have a frame, we'd have framing, a roof, we'd have plumbing, electrical. They all make up a house, but we could study the individual pieces of the house.
Right.
And so African American Studies fits right into the general American narrative, but we're specifically looking through the lens of the African American experience to understand the whole of the house of American history and in this part of the world.
And you have two of your students here. I've been talking with them, rock stars. So I'll ask you both about this class, what you're getting out of it. Zoe is an 11th grader. Kahlila is a senior there at BR High. What are you getting out of this class?
I'm getting out of it a comprehensive education that you really don't fully dive into in other typical American history classes, such as AP US history. I'm also in that. It's just a really well-rounded knowledge to add to what you know about American history.
Okay.
I completely agree with Zoe. I think specifically we're learning a lot about the more positive aspects of African American history that we don't learn about in U.S. history, like the inventions that come from Black people,
Sure.
Like the resistance movements, the violent and non-violent ones. So we're really getting to see the full picture of who Black people were and continue to be in America.
You know, it's interesting. I did some reading about this subject and some of the movements to ban books in schools and curriculum. There was a Harris poll that found that 70% of Americans oppose book bans. And it was Republican and Democrat. They were not in favor of removing books. For me, telling the story, talking about the history, it happened.
Right.
So for people who are concerned that a class like this would incite violence or indict another race of people, what is your response?
So our focus is on, again, the history, the documents. As a matter of fact, AP has identified primary source documents. So in the class, we analyze documents. We don't analyze or evaluate each other or other people.
Sure.
And because we're studying the past, we're not talking about anybody here, present day. But one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand is that many of the things that are in this course, people have wanted to know and explore, and they've known about, they've talked about in their communities. That's what drew me into the course. Growing up as a kid and hearing from my grandparents and aunts and uncles, many of the things that weren't covered in American history at the time. So yeah, there should be no fears that anyone is being indoctrinated, because what we do, we present the evidence and we let the kids make decisions on how those movements fit into the larger movements.
What has been their reaction and interaction with you in the class as you're conducting the lecture?
So what I've seen over the last 7 or 8 months, so you see light bulbs go off and kids will talk about things, but what really struck me was we had parents' night after a few months of teaching the course, and some of the parents told me, they said, we're talking about all this stuff at home. And the kids never, told me that. So had we not had parents' night, I would not have known that a lot of things that sometimes they don't talk to me about, they're talking at home on these subjects. And my daughter is in one of my classes, and she said basically, She said, Dad, you left a lot of stuff out. And I'm like, well, I mean, I was going to talk about it at some point, but of course you don't do a deep dive like that.
You
with
can't
your
get
kids.
everything in
No.
there. So what has been the feedback from parents and who have kids in your class?
So the feedback I've received has been overwhelmingly supportive, encouraging, and all positive. You know, all the kids who sign up for this class do so of their own volition. Parents with parental support, so no one is being forced to take the class, anything like that.
Well, look, we appreciate you guys coming on. I could say they're both rock stars who are going to go on and do great things. And I just wanted to be able to talk with an educator about the course and then ask questions about what's being taught versus some of the stuff that's often spewed that is not necessarily often the truth. But thank you all for coming on.
Thank you for
All right,
having us.
you heard tonight about 225 Gives. You heard about Safe BR. There is more coming out of that initiative. And look, we're open to y'all. If you guys want to come here and talk more, we got a place for you, all right? Awesome. You guys have a great week. Our first weekend without football. What will we do? Catch you next week.